we are live. Welcome to the Random Party Generator. With me is none other than Rob Conley, Mr. Batniatic, and with the weight of the show on his shoulders is the one and only chubby funster, Mr. Gray Christopher.
How's it going? I have a headache tonight, so if I'm a mean, irascible, ornery person, I'm going to blame that. So I'm going to get that
I
out of
already
the way
touched
right
the
away.
hot stove for everybody, so be warned.
Yes, fighting words, everybody, fighting words.
I'm ready to take you out, Rob. Whatever it is.
But I'm going to start this on a positive note, but steam you rolled there a little bit, Eric. But I think it is safe to say for our year-end wrap-up, personally, we all had pretty good years.
Yeah, no,
Oh
I
yeah.
I think you are right. Oh, Rob, you brought it up. So let's hear your year in review.
Well, I had an extremely successful Kickstarter, and but more than that, not quite as good as you, Greg, but my month-to-month sales is up over $100 a month, which is nice to see it climbing back to where it was when I was still had this Judges Guild item in the catalog. And so appreciate everybody who picked up one of my books this year. And the only downside is that making a product that's 4 times the size of my normal points of light stuff is definitely 4 times the work, and I'm still working on it. Should be out by January, but right now I'm almost there. Only got 3 items left, and one of them is the index, which is going to be important for this, and it's a bit of a challenge.
Are you hyperlinking it internally as well?
Yeah, Adobe InDesign wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. Yeah, it can import the list just fine, and then I have to place the anchors for in order to generate the index in the first place. And to boot, I have to do this. I'm considering how many passes to do this because I want a general index, a geographical index, and a person index.
Do you have any appendices in this book?
Uh, yeah, I have a
Okay.
travel rules and the encounter system.
Because
That I,
I was having a conversation with Rob Alderman recently about internal hyperlinks, and he has appendices for like magic items and monsters and all the stuff that's in his setting. And so when you're on page 50 and the appendice that you're looking for is like page 420, it'd be great to have a hyperlink to just go tell me about this magic item, and it would just jump you there. But then once you make that jump, getting back to where you were becomes an issue. Yes, there's no perfect solution, but we were just talking about that. Those kind of things, people assume that it's easy to solve these problems or make these decisions, but the kind of structure, linkage, how you're going to do your table of contents, how deep your table of contents is going to go in terms of nested layers of what you're going to provide specific pages for, or how you're going to do an
well,
index, or how you're going to structure things. These are real questions.
I know I got the table contents covered. I that's a solved problem, and I do have the process of making an index. I did quite well. I thought I did quite well on how to make a fantasy sandbox. It's just this work is a bit larger than how to make a fantasy sandbox. So that's why it's taking more time. It's not because I'm running into a technical slide. It's just, all right, I'm like in the letter D's at the moment. So, but lucky I have vacation time until January 5th. So
Oh, damn! All
we,
right.
I'm my day
All
job at the
right.
moment to click on all these entries for index. What I would like is somehow Adobe just to take this list and say, find me all the instances of Black Marsh and just give me the page number, and then I would go through the index after it's generated and delete anything that I don't find relevant. And that's a little easier task than having to anchor everything for the index.
Yep. It's hard with the auto index generating tools because they don't know relevance. So
Mhm.
like certain terms might be mentioned a whole bunch of times, but nobody needs to go look them up in the index, so it doesn't matter. Um, like I've always had a struggle with like game terms for a book that you're writing a supplement for, right? So um, I write sentences that use the word advantage or disadvantage for Shadow Dark, right? And if you don't know that's a game term from when you're looking at it immediately, the sentence reads wrong because you don't use it in the same way that you would in normal English. So I italicize the word just to make sure that people know that I'm talking about it as a game term and not just a generic, this is an advantage to doing whatever. But I don't know. There's some things I just don't have a good solution for, like monsters, especially. Like, I would love to be able to not organize the monster section alphabetically, but by category, because then you could put in the index or the table of contents or bookmarks is what I meant to say instead of index. You could put like categories like humanoid or dragon or whatever, and then just jump to that section. But you can't really do that if your humanoids are spread out into 12 different alphabetical locations. Um, so I don't know. Yeah, Fugly says sometimes having a book is better than a PDF. I don't know that that's true, but all these
Depends.
things are, yeah, very difficult issues to grapple with, and I don't know that there's a perfect answer.
Um, I just remember why I underestimated this because so early in the project, early in the like in summer, I tested what Adobe calls tagging. So I could take a text file and tag it. So the tagging should have done. Uh, I know it would done font headers, but what I stupidly didn't check was how it handled this anchoring for indexes and stuff like that. And and I couldn't do a final version until Tim got done with the edits. I knew that going in, but I thought, hey, I tested it on a short section. It's going to seem to work. And then when Tim got done with the edit and I sat down with it, all the styling worked okay. It was great for stat blocks. Did not have the trouble with all the stat blocks because I was able to use a text editor which has all kinds of search and replace capabilities, and it just sit there and use macros to fill it all out how it's supposed to be. But when it came to the index, the InDesign setup was stupid beyond belief. They don't. Whoever designed their tagging system didn't do a good job, and so it didn't work out. So now I have to use InDesign itself to do the indexing. That was the big disappointment. I know
All right.
inside baseball.
Yep. So, Greg, tell us about your 2025.
2025 was awesome for the Chubby Funster. Not to get into specific numbers, but brought in 5 times the revenue in 2025 as 2024.
That's awesome.
So able to afford enormous amount of better production quality stuff going into the next year with all the stuff that's come in. Um, I've had I've already commissioned a new map for Shadow Sun for the new year, and that's the kind of thing like being able to go from doing my own maps to having someone like Glenn Seal do it
Oh,
at a
nice.
much higher artistical quality level. Being able, hey, Patty in the chat commissioned art from Patty, commissioned art for specific things. So, like Shadow Sun, one of the weaknesses that I felt Shadow Sun has had since it came out 3 years ago is that when I made it, I'm going off of the stock art that's available, and there's not a lot of stock art of Dark Sun monsters because they're very specific in their style. And so putting it together has really been a lot easier now. Thanks, Paul Bigby. He's been on my Patreon, which I just launched about a week ago.
Nice.
Um, and I was going to say that in a second, but yeah, the just the resources available dramatically change your options. So like if you're only going off of stock art, you really can't make unique worlds like Dark Sun very easily because you're limited by the art. Now,
Right.
you can go through and try to only put art that matches the thing, but then it ends up like it still doesn't have that unique feel that you'd get from a Dark Sun. So I'm going to be rolling out all kinds of stuff like that in 2026. So I created a Patreon mainly for the reasons of having some kind of barrier to open design. So like I've been posting almost every day. Like here's a screenshot of this particular spread that I just wrote, like before I posted it. I just
Right.
wrote it, and then put it up there and get people's feedback right away. Make any changes that some people notice. Like today, I posted a thing about how caravans are going to work, and in the first part of the spread, I used 2 terms, and then in the second part, I had changed my mind by then and switched to a different second term. And somebody was like, "It says bargaining over here, but it says resolution on this side." And I'm like, "Oh, I switched bargaining to resolution." So I go over and fix that. Things like that. Having people be able to catch stuff like that, be able to come back with ideas about, hey, maybe it should work a little bit differently. Feedback like that without just posting screenshots of every fucking page on Twitter or whatever. I don't want to do that either. So the Patreon provides a little bit of a barrier to make it so that I feel more comfortable designing everything just out, sharing it with people.
I would use the word filter, the more positive spin on what you're doing.
Filter.
Right
yeah, it's great. It's been great. Get feedback from, and I know that the people that are giving me feedback are like my most dedicated people that really care the most about it. Yeah.
Right.
And like I had made a post in the Dark Sun Facebook group about something, and somebody brought up that I use the term dune runner to dune runner. Sorry, there's a lot of ends in that. To talk about kind of a flightless bird, kind of like an erdlu in Dark Sun, but more aggressive and biting constantly and attacking. And somebody pointed out there's an undead elf in Dark Sun called a dune runner. And I was like, yeah, I didn't use I mixed this term up on purpose as part of kind of the IP protection. Like I wanted to be able to say, like, I'm not using these terms in the same way that you're using terms, Wizards of the Coast, so you can't claim that I'm breaking your copyright. And the guy acted a little butthurt about it. And he was like, well, you should know, you should do this, and blah, blah, blah. So I just made a poll on the Patreon, and I was like, what do you guys think? 71% of the people said, don't change it.
Yeah.
Right. So it makes me feel more rather like, having some random person give me some feedback, and then I can go back to that group of people on Patreon and be like, what do you guys think about this idea? And sometimes they'll vindicate me. Sometimes they'll be like, okay, maybe I do need to change my position on a particular thing. So that's kind of where I'm kind of turning the corner here at the end of the year. But it's been a fantastic year for production on Chubby Fun. So we've had Shadow City had a Kickstarter. That was the biggest event. But I've had other releases and stuff over the course of the year of Giant Eagles. No, they don't.
But should they? That's another question.
Well, Tim, I will say to give some specific comfort to Tim, I went through, because there are no horses in Shadow Sun, I went and I edited that Rick Hershey art piece with the horse being chased by the giant eagle, and I removed the horse, Tim. So now you won't have any more trauma of it trying to steal your horse. You'll be able to it's just a giant eagle. It's not that same giant eagle that tried to hunt you to the end of the earth, buddy.
There you go. And also, you kicked off your YouTube channel this year.
Oh, that's true. Yes.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I had one, but I started actually really using it.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, I had one for years that I had like 3 videos on, and then I put some effort into it. You've been really doing well.
Thank you. I think I've been able to leverage some of the things that I I bring from my academic history and my work history in terms of organizing and presenting information in a particular way, and that has helped.
Good.
Yeah,
That's
Roadrunner was my idea, Death Angel. So that's how I thought of it. It's like a Roadrunner that would kill you, bite your face off.
there you go. Well,
Hello, Eric.
yeah,
Hello, Eric. How about you?
I got to say that I this channel was often about current events in gaming and my gaming thoughts. And at the end of the summer, I did a bit of a pivot toward gaming material, obviously OSR related. And I did that because honestly, I was getting tired of carrying and talking about the current events and always trying to be on top of that. And I enjoyed digging into the gaming, literal gaming aspect of it. Well, um, I think folks appreciate that. I gotta say, we picked up uh, over 3,200 subscribers this year, which is amazing. We have over 100 minions, members, whatever you want to call it. So thank you all that are part of it. And the feedback has been um, humbling. I
Aren't
really
you
do appreciate
becoming a bit of a OSR historian?
I've done some of the historic. I try to get one. Usually, it's like Sunday or Monday. I try to get something that's a bit more historical in perspective. I want to do a video on Ryan Dancy from the publicly available information on Ryan because the OSR, as we know it, wouldn't exist without Ryan coming
Yep.
along and dropping the OGL and
I said within the past week on some thing, I said I feel like he's an underappreciated quantity. Kind of, I was like, it's like some problem you might have had with the Star Wars prequels, and then after the Disney sale, you look back and you go, well, maybe those prequels weren't as bad as I thought that they were back then. It's kind of,
right.
Ryan Dancy had a lot of great qualities. He was one of the only people interested in actually doing research and figuring out what people are actually doing at their table and then adapting things to that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I
I
think what
mean,
people need
he
to
was very analytical. Sorry, Rob. What?
I think what people need to remember about Ryan Dancy and the Watsi crew at the time, they just bought TSR and they saw the shell of the company. It was only 5 years removed when they did that walkthrough when it was a thriving business, the leader, the market leader, even despite the challenge of Magic the Gathering, despite the challenge of Vampire the Masquerade. They were the market leader, and then it was a shadow of its former self when they got to digging into it. And there was basically the group had a never again attitude, especially when it regards to D&D.
Yeah. I mean, so I literally have an very outline bullet point as thoughts occur to me. That I've been working on that one for probably off and on for 2 weeks as I think about it. But then other stuff comes up, and I'm like, oh, I'll get to that. But for me, again, underappreciated. I know that Fugly says he helped kill the RPGA. Honestly, I think TSR did a great job of killing the RPGA when they made themselves unprofitable. Uh, and yeah, Cynthia Williams trimmed TSR down for sale. I mean, the company was essentially bankrupt at that time. But there's a whole thing I want to go into that. There's another one that I want to do is probably a series of videos on is Matt Finch's old school primer because
Oh boy, you're going to get some views for that.
yeah, I mean it really is something that I think is underappreciated by many in the OSR because it's free, or I've been gaming for years, I don't need to read it. But as I've noticed with some of the videos I've done, yeah, there's stuff that we assume everybody is doing and they haven't been doing, and sometimes a little refresher is nice. So, but
I, I've gone to after everything I've been through with my YouTube channel, I go into every conversation now assuming that something has not been read at
yes,
all, because so many people are offering their opinions that when I actually read what it says in the book, I'm like, okay, they didn't even read that. They don't even know what the hell it says here. And going through and actually, I had one guy say that the value of my Curse of Strahd analysis was just that I read the book, and that so many people talk about it without ever having even really read it or done anything. I mean, that it's a real problem. We've all got these drives with hundreds and hundreds of PDFs on it. I think. I mean,
yeah,
at least the three of us for sure. I know a lot of people in the chat also. Like humble bundle sales where you get like 50 different PDFs at once and all these different things. And how could you read it all? How could you? And I found just going through the actual text and saying it. I had in my video I dropped today at noon, there were screenshots of Dolmenwood from Two Adventures in Dolmenwood, and people started, reading what was on the screen and commenting on what's on the screen. I'm like, that's good. Read,
yeah.
read it. Yeah. So many things are people offering opinions without having read anything.
Well, because people offer their opinions of other people's opinions. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the shortcut these days. I read a review, therefore I know, and that isn't the way things work. But yeah, no, the channel has been um, doing really well. I don't, folks. If you've been watching, if you've been watching the channel, and I know I do daily videos in addition to the live streams. I don't know how much longer the daily pace is going to keep up because
It's hard.
essentially my Sunday, Monday becomes do a week worth of videos, and my wife is very patient, but I don't know how much longer that patience will last, but we shall see. It might get trimmed down to like 5 days of videos instead of 7. I don't know. I'm not making predictions or promises. We'll see. But I have learned from Joe Block doing these collabs with Joe and Joe every Friday that doing my videos up front, getting them done in the beginning of the week, means that by the time I'm doing my live streams, I'm not stumbling over myself to make sure that everything's in place and I got this and that content. So, but I'm gonna just throw this out there, and I'll kind of speak for Greg. But if you have things that you want Greg to talk about, when you or me, when you watch one of our videos or doing this, bring it up to us. You know, the best feedback is often not just your commentary, but your suggestions, because you know Greg's building a community, I'm building a community, and to be part of a community, you build it together. It isn't a one man job. It is done by all. And yeah, we expect this guy over here
Hmm.
to be kicking off a YouTube channel, but
We'll see. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
But hey, I give my stuff out for free for people to use, so don't
I
forget
know, I
that
know,
that's my little contribution to the community.
I know.
well, I definitely want people to, offer me recommendations and what they'd like to see in 2026 and so on in terms of videos and gaming. But I'm already getting a ton of that, more than I could ever respond to. Just
Oh yeah,
recommendations for book after book after book after book. And it's the same thing. Like, even if I just limited myself to books that people have recommended in my comments, that would still be a colossal list of books.
oh I am
Yeah.
I am sure. But the only way any YouTube creator or publisher, listen, if you leave feedback on drive through, that is huge. Okay, if you leave feedback on a video, that is huge. That is how we know we're hitting the right spots. Um, Even if we disagree, listen. I know there's a lot of people who comment on my videos that disagree with the premise or disagree with my stance. I mean, did a video on AI today. That was the collab. And I know people are very emotionally invested in or against AI. I expected a lot of emotional responses. I don't take them personal. So
By the way, before we get too far away, Patty had asked me a question about Kelsey's
organized play, yes.
organized play. I have no knowledge of that whatsoever. I assume it's because she's very busy, but I have not talked to Kelsey in over 2 or 3 months now. She's trying to roll out all the stuff for her Kickstarter, multi-million-dollar Kickstarter. She's got a whole bunch of personal life stuff that's been going on. She's talked about it on her Discord server, but I don't want to get into it. But she's a very busy person, so I just haven't talked to her.
So Eric, and you too, Greg, you'll have a very important decision next year to make.
Uh-oh.
When to mark the birth of the OSR, because you got 2 dates to pick from. You can go for January 20th, which was the release of Basic Fantasy Role Playing Game by Chris Gonnerman, or uh, June 23rd, which was when the Osric preview was released. But it's going to be next year is 20 years of the OSR.
Well, I
20
think with
years.
Basic Fantasy, that was like a very early ongoing aspect of it. I think Osric made more of an impact when it got released because I think it got, uh, I guess, more creatives on the publishing side involved. But yeah, it's certainly the year. It's certainly
Well,
the year.
if you go on my blog and you look at my roll of links on the other side, you'll find a link to a spreadsheet called Hordes and Horror, where a guy documented a lot of OSR stuff from from
So
the 2000 to about 20 2014. There's stuff after 2014, but it became much more sporadic. So
so that could be a title for Joe's game, Hordes and Whores.
I'm sharing my screen if you want to
What do you
take.
think? Joe the lawyer could make that game, Hordes and Whores. Sorry, Eric.
It's okay. And then I already had a tickle in my throat when they hit me with that. I was like, if I don't mute, man, you're gonna be just. It's gonna be coming like, is he dying? Is he dying? All right. What is Rob got for the show and tell?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
we
this
can't
is,
read it. I'm not gonna leave it up on. All right.
so
Oh, okay.
right there, the list, a comprehensive listing of OSR products throughout the late 2000s and early 2010. So right there is Basic Fantasy, and right there is Osric Preview, and you can just see the unfolding and how things ramped up throughout the years. And it just keeps accelerating, and the numbers keep climbing and climbing. And so it's just a resource you can use if you want to talk about 20 years of the OSR,
Okay.
especially the like Ray. I think I just like here is Green Double Face #2, which was Jim Raggy's Zine that he was putting out at the time. Fight On #4, released in 3/4/2009.
Well, I'm going to try to say this as diplomatically as possible, but I I started with second edition. I have no personal nostalgia attached to anything before second edition, just because I was too young.
Right.
And all the everything that I've learned about the OSR has been a new thing. Like I use the example of Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was before my time when I became aware of politics or anything. And when I heard that there was a story about Jimmy Carter being attacked by a swamp rabbit, I thought that was for sure a lie. I was like, these people are lying to me that is a real thing. And then I went on the internet and I saw that it was indeed true. So that's the position that I'm in, where I'm like, is that real? Did that happen? And then I go and I ask people like Rob, I say, hey, did this happen? So there's no nostalgia thing attached to it to me, but there's a substantial portion of people in the OSR who I respect enormously, but that their main goal is just really seems to be preservation of a particular thing.
Yep.
They want it.
That's been from day one.
Yeah, they want to kind of be like, this is exactly what was published in 1986 on my view, or this whatever, and then just go off of that. And I'm not content to be happy with something published a year ago by myself, So I'm the kind of person who's just constantly changing and wanting to improve things. So I know that puts me at odds with the people. I agree with all this OSR stuff as a philosophy in terms of how you should run the game, how the game should be focused and designed. You have all these different principles that we can go into.
Right.
But I'm not going to be celebrating Osric being published or anything like that personally, just because that's not what I care about. I care about what we're doing right now. Yeah.
Well, the relevance of Osric isn't that it represents the preservationist strand of the OSR. The relevance of Osric and Basic Fantasy, but Osric is, as Eric noted, it's the one who made it a bigger splash because that's got the shit, the shit talk and the pushback from the rest of the industry. But that was the hack that made the rest of us go, oh, well, now we can do anything. We can do 95% of what we wanted to do with classic D&D.
Right.
That's what broke open the
I value and appreciate the open gaming license concept, that the value that it had in allowing everybody to do this without having an intellectual property lawsuit on their hands.
And it established, and because of WotC, not or Hasbro, we rounded out the boundary throughout the 2010s, so that something like people don't bat an eye at something like Shadow Sun. I guarantee if you release Shadow Sun in 2010, half your day you would be so pissed off at half of the people talking at you because they'll be saying that you're stealing from TSR, you're doing this, but today, I mean, it's clearly not a copy of Dark Sun. It is clearly inspired by Dark.
The number one complaint I get is that it is not Dark Sun enough.
Exactly. But in 2010, that was not the case.
Yeah.
In the earliest ASR, the two big strands were the Gonzo guys and the Preservation guys. And then, there were other, Jim Raggy was one of the people who came in and really did something. He kind of started off Gonzo, but then he did his whole weird horde thing that really kind of made its own thread. And I came in too, with my Majestic Waterlands, and I was one of the sandbox guys as well as the Judges Guild guy, and it just diversified from there.
All right, hey, I'm going to just hop in and correct some religious discussion going on. There's only one Christmas for Eastern and Western churches. There are often two different Easters because of how they keep their calendars. I only know this because I did a duty captain schedule and I had a Greek Orthodox captain who volunteered to work pretty much every Easter for me when I had to do the schedules unless they matched up that year. And Three Kings Day is January 6th. I know that because my son is Puerto Rican. His mother was Puerto Rican. They celebrated it with the straw and the Three Kings doing the delivery. It's just an excuse to give kids an extra Christmas present giving day. All right, I just wanted to not that I'm a religious scholar or anything like that, just that I personally experienced some of this stuff. There we go. Wow, we had a lively chat today.
Yeah.
Gosh.
There was a question about the Glass Cannon podcast in there, whether people thought that they had a good live play of Shadow Dark. And I have I have different standards, I guess, or goals out of a live play. When I watch a live play, my goal is to learn something that the person is doing. Right, I'm
Mhm.
observing them do the thing, and so for that reason, I only usually watch a little bit of time just to see how they're running the game, and then I go, okay, I don't really like that whatever thing, and I move on. So I never really get into any. There's very few where it seems like I'm actually learning from. Like Alexander McCrease's Great Brotherhood is very long live play of Acts 2, fantastic. You can see how he runs the game. You can see how he handles issues that you don't see in a lot of live plays. For
Right.
instance, he talks about how like they wanted to get this magic item, but they didn't have the money for it, so they started actually like borrowing money from organizations in order to finance the purchase of these magic components and magic research and stuff, like all these different things like that that you don't really see people adjudicate in other games. So there's things that you can learn like that, but I'm not really interested in watching people do voice acting and dramatic
Oh,
acting.
come on.
So I just don't like those live play. What do you guys think? What?
Well, here, I'm going to tell folks, if you do a little research on this channel, we have, I believe, 2 live plays of Shadow Dark. And Kelsey refers people to our first live play. When people go, how do
Which
you
one
play
was
Shadow
that?
Dark? What?
Which one was that? With the one I ran, or
I
the?
think that was the one that Matt ran
Matt Jackson
personally.
Okay.
ran it.
And she refers people to what we did because she goes, that was the most authentic Shadow Dark session that she had seen. And she still talks about it when I see her. So we had a great time, by the way. And we busted on everybody's ass. We didn't bust on Matt enough. I think we
Hmm.
have to go back and probably redo that. But
We probably gave him some kind of grace period or
he
something.
was running the game. Yeah, we had
Yeah,
to.
yeah. You don't want to incite anger from
Well, you
people.
don't want to, yeah, because then your DM will kill you. And people were like donating money for Rob. Like, hey, this is for Rob's reroll later and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. I remember that.
So, but I mean, honestly, I do not watch live plays in general. And the reason being is if they're being done to be entertaining, they're not a lot. They're not really a game session. They
That's
are
right.
people acting out. Improv acting. The scenario is already mapped out. There's a railroad behind what's going on because nobody's being totally surprised. And or you got a bunch of knuckleheads like us. Now our group has a good chemistry, so when we did it, it wasn't just gaming. It was a lot of probably off color and offensive jokes.
Hmm.
Our specialty, but most other live plays are, as you would imagine, watching somebody's group from, I don't know, the corner of the room and expecting to be entertained. That's a rarity. I mean,
Yeah.
you could watch a live play in first person perspective at any convention, and most times you'll get bored within 5 minutes and walk away to go do something more interesting like shopping than watching people play. There are exceptions, but live plays generally aren't as awesome as you might think they are. Chris, OSR Christmas kicked off late last night because the lead up to Christmas was horrible. It's being done in 3-day batches. So it kicked off the 25th. It's going to run the 26th and the 27th. And midnight on the 27th, people trying to get into the gift receiving will be cut off from that first batch of gifts. And then Sunday, the gifts will be distributed, and the next batch of gifts will be announced. That'll run for 3 days, so it's going to run in 4 sets of 3 days, wrapping up right around Three Kings Day.
And where can they find out more information about
You
this
can go to
project?
10 Cards Tavern at Gmail. No, 10carstavern.com. You can go to the website. I thought I answered you, Chris, but I got to double check the email. I answered a lot of people, and I'm not quite sure. Hold on, I got. Yes, I did. I answered you, Chris. Yeah, yesterday. Yesterday. Oh, you answered me. No, you answered me on the 20. All right, I got yes. I see. I did, and I mentioned one of your gifts are in the mix for the current gifting. So your I thought I sent an email. Oh well, your dice
And
bag
see,
will be the last.
answering people's emails live is also
Yes,
not an
I know, I
entertaining
know. The
part of the
excitement, Chris.
podcast.
Your the handmade chainmail dice bag is going to be the last set of OSR Christmas days when all the big gifts get put into the pot. So
Yep. Paul
sorry.
Paul Catone has made a comment. I learned so much at North Texas this year because I went in and I picked like 7 people with very different styles, but that each were like masters in their domain. And so, I got to play like Greg Gillespie running his stuff the way it's, I got to go with Glenn running, what is it? Gangbusters. I don't know why that,
Oh,
yeah, get to see people do like their element, and then take away what you can from that. I think that's the best way to get new techniques is to see. It's hard to see the differences between GMs if you're only pulling from a pool of like 5. You know, I learned a technique for running Alien from one. I forget which Alien live play it was, where this person, rather than giving them a pause at the beginning of the Chariot of the Gods scenario where they wake up from cryo sleep and have a chance to like introduce their characters and stuff. Instead, they like immediately bombarded them with alerts that the ship was going to crash and all this stuff, and everybody jumped into action, and it skipped right over all the boring, hey, my name is Bob, this is my niche in the game, whatever kind of discussion. So that you can definitely learn by watching live plays.
oh yeah.
You can also learn what not to do. Crispy Table Runner has a whole series called Unsolicited Advice, where he looks at people's live plays and like breaks down, like, you see how you didn't pause for the player to even answer your question before you rolled into what you were telling them? Like that's bad GMing.
Well, that's GMing for I've. It doesn't matter what my player asks me. I've got this the
I've
everything's
got
in
this
me.
thing I want to say. Yes,
Well,
exactly.
speaking of convention, I will be at Page in about 2-3 weeks, and I'll have a booth there. I will not have Northern Marches there. Unfortunately, I'll probably be in getting the proofs at that time, but I will have the other rest of my books, and I'll be running 2 sessions, both of my sandbox adventures there. Are you going to be at Page this year, Eric?
I will not be at Page. Our puppy is going to be getting uh, um, fixed,
Oh,
spayed, and it's going to land right in the middle of the Page timing. So I won't. TotalCon's going to be iffy, and it might be me running solo for TotalCon. I got to see what we're looking at. So, but
well,
yeah,
Don will be there. I got a booth right next to him.
yeah, Page I will not be at. So I will not be paging this year.
Yeah, I'm got a conservative schedule this year. I'm just going to North Texas. I got to save my vacation days for some stuff, but I will be, going forward once I get through. Yeah, I'm going to be pulling off a move to North Carolina next year. There's
Oh,
some other
really?
stuff. So yeah, that's the plan at least. We'll see. So I'm trying. Yeah, I don't know 100% on all kinds of different things. So I'm I'm keeping things conservative. Never know when I might need those vacation days.
I understand that. Being retired, vacation days aren't the thing they are. It actually winds up being, do we have anybody to watch the doggy? Or do, or it's like, all right. But hopefully after she's fixed, her puppiness level goes from an 11 down to about a 5. So then she'll be manageable by more family members.
We adopted a feral cat. He goes, sits at the glass door out to the patio, staring at the snow, singing the song of his people.
I am glad I'm not out there. My cat is she's been in now for a little bit over 5 years. She was about 6 months old when we brought her in. She found us, but yeah, she'll look out the window when she hears like other cats like fighting in the yard, and then she's like, "Yeah, I'm not out there. I'm happy. I'm okay with where I'm at. It works
Yeah,
out
we
well."
just feed him a churro, give him a scritch, and then he's reminded why he likes it inside.
Yeah, there you go. she's and she likes putting the puppy in the puppy's place. It's like, oh, the puppy's in the viewing room. I have to make sure the puppy doesn't get out of control. It's like, oh god. But yeah, I think that 2026. Listen, in a way, 2025 was a good year for the industry because the drama was relatively low. Leading up to the release of D&D 2024, there's a lot of high drama. A lot of people on WotC were stepping on their dicks or stepping on each other's dicks or just doing a general, I don't know,
Dick stomping.
dick stomping. Yes. It's like, how we've got this great book on the history of D&D. How can we make sure that half of our customer base will be offended by it? Let us count the ways.
Let's release a nostalgia product that says "fuck you" to everybody who's old.
Yeah. When your nostalgia
Smart,
product says,
smart move.
if we could have, we would have changed the material that we're reprinting in here because we personally find it offensive.
You mean this one?
Yes, which is
Yeah.
a great book.
You can actually, it's on my shelf this way. It's like right here,
Yeah.
on my shelf.
We all own it.
Still, because I haven't opened it.
I've opened it. I didn't read it like cover to cover, but I opened it, and the material is actually good. Now, why is it good? Because D&D
John
is
Peterson was involved in
right. A D&D historian is the one that did the majority of the work, but it just happened to be that assholes that were in charge of the IP decided that they needed to get their 2 cents and tell you why they were offended by the book.
No, it was no. Let's put the blame where it squarely lies. It's Jason Tondero, the project lead.
Right. Okay.
And obviously, Jason did not write.
No,
didn't write the commentary on the artifacts that are in here. So
no.
that was John Peterson.
So so I mean,
They didn't fuck up the art, so you can't.
Yeah. And my understanding, this is what I heard through the grapevine, is that Peterson was very offended, and that Jason included what he did, and it wasn't done with Peterson's endorsement, essentially, and that's kind of lacking of class. But that was 2024 was the year of let's change D&D 5e from being a Mike Merle's project, which had OSR influences, to a Jason and Chris Perkins project that erased Mike Merle's, erased any of the OSR adjacent influences, and made it better for a VTT that withered and died on the vine.
Well, I gotta say, I'm a little bit more impressed with Mike Merle's contribution because I've seen his Patreon and his revision to 5e, and he's more I think his natural inclination is more in the 3.x camp.
Hmm.
If he had to do with a blank sheet, it would be, I wouldn't say be quite as dense as 3.x, but he's his revision to 5e are more in the 3.x camp. But the fact that he included so much OSR sensibility and shepherded it without, disparaging it or doing any other dumb shit that we see people do over the years, it's to his credit. He took a style that he not his wheelhouse, but he made sure that that was covered.
Yeah, I mean, I met Mike once, didn't he? More like a, oh, Mike, this is Tenkar. Oh yeah, hi. A handshake at Gary Con before COVID. But I think that Mike had a love and respect for D&D, and I hate to put assumptions on others, but I think that Jason and Chris, I don't think they liked Mike Merles. I believe, from what I've heard, is that they basically tried to assassinate his career within WotC, and they wanted to usurp D&D to their reigns. It didn't help them any.
Yeah.
They ushered in the new edition that wasn't a new edition, and then were told, I guess, to find new jobs by the incoming
Well,
leadership.
I've heard some of what I'm about to say from Joe the lawyer, but I've been getting a lot of this impression the more I read um, over time.
Hmm.
Like part of the video series is that I've been doing within a short period of my real life. I'm reading second edition, third edition, fourth edition, fifth, right? And I can see very clearly. Whereas a lot of times, you've been reading it as you went through life,
Right.
and so you're coloring everything through by looking backward. So I can really see the changes, and I think that a lot of what happened is that there have become people entrenched at WotC who I don't know enough details to even name a name. Besides, I'm pretty sure Tondro is one.
Hmm.
Um, that their goal is to produce writing or whatever, but they don't care about it being attached to D&D. They'd be fine writing it for a video game. They'd be fine writing it for a novel. They'd be fine writing it for whatever. And they get up there. Whereas people like Mike Merles actually wants to play D&D,
Right.
right? And so Joe's said many times, like these people at the top, they don't play. The people who do play are probably raising objections so much that they attract the negative energy of those people who then try to expel them. And
Yep.
so then they keep creating products, and at each iteration it gets less and less like D&D because they don't care about D&D as a property, right?
Well, we know that 3.5 or 3.0 was definitely made with the mandate make D&D live again. And so that's what they did with 3.0. They put their best effort, and even though it wasn't old school in the way we consider old school in the OSR, it's still they put their love in D&D in there.
And you
And
could tell I was I bought third edition when it came out, and it was to young me like fantastic. I mean, in terms of what they were delivering was really good. You could tell they actually did care about making the thing.
and I like, even though I mean I was still playing GURPS and I had no plans of seeing 3.0, but I was impressed through the leveling system, how they solved some of the major complaints that other people, fans of system, were leveling in D&D, but still kept it D&D. I thought that whole multi-classing level thing was an elegant solution to customizing
It,
your character exactly the way they want. Then they went overboard on it, but that was a problem we didn't realize until later that that was
yeah,
going to happen.
and they did legitimate innovation in designing all kinds of stuff in third edition that you see later. You go, like, whoa, what the hell happened?
Yeah,
Um,
in hindsight, ascending AC makes hell of a lot of sense compared to Thaco or any others of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's not really mathematically that different. It's just flipping the way you do the math. And
Mm-hmm.
um, I play OSE every week now since I started running Gods of the Forbidden North, and I run it with ascending AC with just some simple fixes to, the running. It's optional rules for OSE for how to process it, and it works perfectly.
But 4E was definitely a whole reaction to the OGL. We got to make D&D, and it was whoever I forgot who wrote it, but obviously they drunk the Forge theory Kool Aid, and we got to be gamist because that's what it is. It's all about the battle mat and the minis. And
Well, yeah.
I use mats and minis, but not like that.
See, Rob, 4E had a couple of goals. It had we got to erase the OGL, and if the OGL was terminatable, they would have terminated it back then, but
Hmm.
they knew they couldn't. So
Revocable.
they were revocable. They didn't revoke it. They just tried to
I
make
believe
it
the court cases that were relevant to make it revocable, unless you phrase it the right way, actually haven't happened yet.
okay. Well, in any case, they just figured we'll just put it to the side. We're going to give you the game system license, which is better because you got to pay into it. Yeah, yeah, okay. But it was also built with the idea that, why does this sound familiar? It was going to support a VTT that was kind of going to be microtransactions. So my understanding is if you wanted like 10 orc minis, even if they all looked the same, you were going to be paying 25 cents a mini or whatever the price was going to be. You had to pay per mini because that was going to be their income source. And they were inspired by games like uh, World of Warcraft and EverQuest.
Yeah, I think 2009, 2008 was the when microtransaction was taking video games by storm. So it
Yep.
was like the new hotness, just like, you know, AI was for 2024.
That was that was their goal. So now with D&D 2024, the goal was the new game, not not new, everything it's still compatible with everything old, but don't mix the core rules at your table because you might cause the game to explode. Um it was going to support the new VTT, but the new VTT was going to make it $1 billion IP because you'd have to pay to play. And you were going to not just have a subscription, you were going to be buying minis. Remember, if you pre ordered the core rule books for 2024, what did you get? You got a Red Dragon mini, only usable on the new VTT.
I thought they also were going to set up a pay by section plan for the rule books too. Like you pay for the warlock, and then you pay for
They
the
were they were talking about that too on D&D Beyond.
Yeah. And see, if
So
they actually talked to anybody who played D&D, they would have gone, "Oh, that is not going to work at all,"
nope.
because role-playing gamers, I love them to death, but they are the penny pinchingest of all gamer subtypes. This is not Magic the Gathering players that are dropping huge amounts of money on every new edition to get all these new cards. Like, these are people who complain that the PDF costs more than $10.
Right.
So the idea that these people are going to be dropping huge amounts of microtransaction money is nuts. It's not. I can't imagine thinking that. You would have to not play D&D to think that.
Now I want to address something from Chris. He goes, the OGL is just a marketing ploy. They can't copyright a game system. They can copyright the lore. That was decided by the Supreme Courts over 150 years ago. Well, here's the thing. The reason why Mayfair Games essentially closed up shop is because they fought that. And it doesn't make, as somebody who has been involved in a legal action, right and wrong means a lot less than who has deeper pockets. And if WotC decided that, well, your game using copyright is infringing on their profits, you'd have to defend yourself. The OGL just gives you a safe harbor. Now, there are publishers. Kevin Crawford is one of them, whose stuff is very close and pretty much compatible 90-95% of the way with classic D&D rule sets D20. But he literally rewrites everything, rephrases everything so as to come nowhere near the copyright, because the copyright isn't just a lore. The copyright's a presentation. It's tables. It's the way the words are written.
Well, to be specific, the problem is not that you can't copyright the concept of armor class, hit point, level, and hit dice. However, if you make a game that has all of them together by those terms,
Right.
then it's not clear that WotC will win. But on the other hand, they have a case. And like Eric said, they can sue you. Win or lose, you're out that money.
Right.
And the OGL
But
said
we,
it's
we have a
okay to
weapon
use.
against them now, though, that they never had, that we haven't had until very recently,
Which is?
which is that if I publish the Shadow Sun revisions in March, right, and Wizards of the Coast announces they're going to sue me for violating their copyrights in some way, bogusly. Obviously, I'm
Right.
not going to do that. But if they somehow conclude that I violated their copyrights and try to sue me, I can make a post on X. I can make a video on YouTube, and it can be shared by huge name accounts and gotten out there to the point that it becomes untenable for them from a public relations standpoint. And that would never have been possible in 1995 or 2005 even, but we're reaching the point now where the gaming community is so integrated that you can have, accounts with hundreds of thousands of followers start sharing, hey, Wizards of the Coast is picking on this person, and that will look very bad for them, and they will not want that. That could get them in Forbes magazine for all they know. It's happened for less, So I think that it would be very risky for them to even send a letter to somebody with more than anybody with more than 2,000 followers probably.
If you get picked up by the right, but when you countersue for fees, you got to have the money to be in it to win it.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
WotC has essentially bottomless pockets when it comes to this. So if they're going to give you a safe harbor, great. Or you can do like Theatus and shave off all the serial numbers off the nomenclature.
Palladium is the example.
Palladium is an example of that. It can be done. But I would advise, if you're going to go that route, talk to somebody that isn't a talking head on YouTube. Talk to a lawyer.
Yep.
Because it's going to save you grief in the long run. And just because you win a lawsuit does not mean that you get to sue for fees. I won my lawsuit. It cost me deep into six figures. And what I got from that was the thanks for playing. Yes, you were vindicated. Okay, there you go. There was so don't bank on bank on what you have, and bank on trying not to spend it.
And besides, in these day and ages, with the D&D 5e SRD under the Creative Commons share alike, or not share alike, attribution, any problem with we don't have to worry about. If you have a problem with the OGL, just use that for the terms that you need, and you're covered. Just put that little credit, and that's it. There's no other obligation you owe. You can cite compatibility with D&D. You're not giving up any rights.
Right.
And,
see, Rob, our point is that they could do that. They can still sue you. There's nothing that stops them from suing you without basis.
Right. Oh, and about what you said about using PR. Remember, it's a double-edged sword. So if somebody is truly plagiarizing, something they shouldn't, it can rebound them. That same
We've
Oh
we've
effect
yeah,
can
yeah,
we've
rebound
seen
them.
that.
Yes.
We've
yeah.
seen that.
But I'm saying like I'm not a big fish, and I'm not tooting my horn here, but like Grums, the huge gaming account guy, he was involved in World of Warcraft creation. He follows my X account, and so does Sandy Peterson. Those two people alone, if I shared something saying, "Hey, I'm being attacked by Wizards of the Coast," and those two accounts reshared it, it would ripple through so many accounts because there's thousands of followers that they have. And so it'd be very difficult for them to do that. I think at a certain point we're going to have much more substantial protection as a group that we never had before by
Well,
being able
Well,
to
and
share that.
especially if you're like you, Greg, you're not doing anything wrong. You're
That's
right.
legit.
right. Yeah.
That's the thing.
You wrote an inspired setting, and it's like it's not it's like that old bullshit comic book lawsuit between uh DC and the publishers of Captain Marvel. It's clearly, yeah, they can fly, they got super strength, but they're not the same hero. They got completely different stories. But so that was a bullshit. And your Shadow Sun is a different. It's the Captain Marvel to Wizards, Superman Dark Sun,
Yeah. And
basically.
I really hope that Wizards of the Coast launches some kind of Dark Sun rebirth because it will utterly fail. I've no doubt about that. And then I will have positioned myself with the best possible alternative that I can put forward. And then that will be good for me. People go, don't buy this bullshit, buy Shadow Sun. So I'm not
Okay.
worried about them in the least. I hope that they do it.
For you, it's free advertising
That's right. Yeah.
because you have the better alternative. Because honestly, and listen, I think that 2026 is going to be a bigger year for D&D. I see a pivot for the IP going away from going here. I'll say it more toward profitability, offering material that people want, not that they feel people should buy. How about that? Let's give people what they want, not what we think they should want. I think they're going to have that pivot. But if they do Dark Sun, there's so much they can't do with Dark Sun unless they totally change their perspective. Their oh, Greg, by the way,
I
here.
got a super chat from Agile. Thanks, buddy.
Yes.
Yeah, he says he's been in 3 IP lawsuits, won one of them, lost one, and tied one.
Yeah.
Yep. So
That's still
even
three more than
chances.
anybody
Yeah.
wants to be involved in, by the way. But I think that if they did Dark Sun, what can't they do according to their own publishing rules right now? They can't have slavery, right?
I actually finished up the revised spread on that today in Shadow Sun Revive. So it's definitely a part of my setting. They're terrified to touch it. Yeah.
Right. They're terrified to touch anything close to slavery. Uh, you can't have an evil race because evil is just misunderstood, right? I mean, there's no evil race, just evil individuals. So you're not going to be able to have an overarching evil. I don't even know if you could have defiling magic as it was in the original series. You certainly can't have mules. You
Yeah.
know the half
Is it mule or I've only heard it as mole?
mule. We
Okay.
pronounced it. Yeah. What did
I
we
know I
know back then?
pronounced drow wrong. People tell
Yeah,
me.
and it's probably mole. But you can't have. We pronounced it mule because we figured they were sterile. But
That makes sense.
you know, but you can't have you can't have the dwarven half breeds because there's no half races anymore.
That's right.
So there's
Not
a
even
lot of
Goliaths, really. I mean,
yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that gets removed because of I'll call it modern sensibilities.
that's right. And another thing that I've noticed doing all these videos that I've been making is that what has become D&D now whether I'm looking at Strahd or Tyranny of Dragons or any of these other big 5e modules and stuff, um, they are not interested in getting down to the brass tacks in a particular physical location in their world as much as they are interested in presenting broad general stuff for the
Right.
most part. And so they'll probably, if they did Dark Sun, they might release a book that says, here's how to do all these things. They're not going to be releasing how to do hex crawling in Dark Sun. They're not going to have a bunch of dungeons for Dark Sun. They're going to have encounters for you to place in your world that you've made, whatever. Right? Like they don't. They're so disconnected from the praxis of actually playing the game that they aren't interested in those things, right? Whereas that's the thing I'm maximally interested in. And a lot of the revisions that I'm making are to ensure that I'm transiting, because as written, second edition Dark Sun is very dramatic, narrative, cinematic, however you want to call it, in that you're kind of running the module on story beats rather than exploring specific locations like a dungeon crawl. And switching over to that mind is something we haven't seen before in this milieu, whatever you want to call it, right?
Right.
So that's going to be the thing I'm leveraging, and I have no fear that WotC is going to release hex crawls of how to do all the stuff in Dark. Like they're never going to do it, right? So they have a totally different focus from us.
Can I interject something that's a little bit of a different topic, but it touches on the copyright issue?
Yeah.
So everybody, I assume everybody here is familiar with the old wargaming maps and how they have their forest and all these different textures to denote the different terrain, and how Judges Guild
I know
use
where
those.
this is going. Go on. Yes.
Okay, so I have been over the years collecting these things. They're dry transfer sheets, and there are different kinds of terrain, and I've been scanning them for my own use. Which I buy these, I could
Right.
use them, but I haven't been sharing them because I think like these trees here. I mean, these trees are probably hand drawn, and that's under copyright, which is fine. But then I recently learned that the United States Army, Navy, and U.S. Geological Service were making maps with these symbols. So I did a little bit of digging, and it turns out stuff like this, which is what they use for tidal flats, they were made on these plate, a lithographic process, and they use chemicals and stuff until they get the pattern that they wanted them, and they make a master. And then when they make the maps, they do all the hand drawn stuff, the lines and coastlines and stuff. Then they would mask the area that would get this, and then when they shoot the negative, they would overlay this on top of shoot the negative with this, and that will form the final map. So, which means that half of this stuff of my hand is public domain. And but I couldn't find a definitive source for various maps. But in the last month, I found sources. So I am working on, and it's going to take me probably a week or so to complete it. But all the ones that I can reliably track that is public domain, I will take these high res scans and post them for people to download and use on their
Very
own
cool.
maps.
Awesome.
So that is another piece of our, I know it's a minor piece of our cultural history, but it's just one more piece that's going to be put out there for everybody to use. Because then you can do stuff like this, which is where I printed them out, and you can repurpose them for your own maps.
Very nice. And by the way, it's a lot of what the OSR is about, right? Like finding solutions that everybody can use.
That's right. Yeah, and that goes with the whole everything I've been saying tonight about all kinds of different topics. Is like we need to study and talk about the specific techniques for different things, and then that's what needs to be distributed, right? How can you run a game like this? How can you make a map like this? How can you do a book like this?
Now, Greg, gonna just pivot off topic for a second. I'm assuming that you're not getting sleet and snow like we are in New York.
No.
Rob, are you
Um,
getting inclement weather right now?
well, let's just say I had to do a little chipping to get up my car this morning, and I just dropped a couple $100 on a bunch of all-weather tires because my even though my current tires passed inspection, they weren't cutting it in the recent snow that we have, and I thought,
Uh,
screw it. And then today, my entire gravel road was ice. Never seen it like that, but it was coated in ice. But with these tires, I just went out. But I had
oh,
to
okay.
chip it open and leave the car on for about 20 minutes to get it all melted.
Okay. See, like with us, the weather report started out at 3 to 5 inches, then it became 4 to 6, 5 to 8, 9 to 12, and now it's back down to they're expecting 3 to 6 with a significant amount of sleet and a coating of ice on top of it. So all I would say is, thank God I'm retired. I don't have to drive for another couple of days. I'm not even gonna dig my car out. I'll just leave it. Uh, hold on. There we go. Mike, $5 super chat. Thank you. Us OSR barbarian hordes must storm the gates of corporate D&D between D&D heaven in 2016. Oh, Shadow Sun will be the tip of the spear. I think
I
he meant
think you meant
2026.
2026, but yeah.
You know, 2016, I can appreciate though, because that was my year of retirement. Oh my God, 10 years coming up. But yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see, and listen, corporations move slowly. I think we're going to see a pivot. 82 in Dallas today. I don't know. My son is in Tennessee, Nashville. I know yesterday it was like 74.
Yeah, it's about that here in Atlanta, yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to hear about it. But I
You
think we're
choose to
gonna.
live in the frozen north. You could
Yeah,
go anywhere, Eric.
I know.
You
So,
choose it.
Eric, somebody asked a question. What are those uh, map textures are for? And I shared a screen. So this is a 1944 map of Pelu, and if you zoom in on this, this is a texture. Now here they're using it for jungle, but they commonly use this to represent forest and on work on the Judges Guild map. And this right here is another common fill that they use to rep mangrove swamps. Unfortunately, I don't have a high res scan of that, but I have other maps here that show, uh, and they have these neat edges like that. But I have other maps that show other common terrains that the war game maps do. And because I can show that it comes from this 1944 government document, map, it's public domain. All products of the U.S. government are by law public domain.
That's right. There's tons of public domain stuff on. It's a Wikipedia's file storage site, Wikimedia Commons, that you
Oh
can
yes.
search by status, like public domain or Creative Commons or whatever, and you can pull up huge amounts of documents that have been put in public domain that you can use artwork from.
Yeah, 12 degrees up in Utica. God bless you, Raj. You know,
Crazy, man.
I know. I appreciate it, and New York is about I don't even know what temperature is upper 20s right now, but yeah, it's weird weather, and we're gonna have like I don't know, like monsoon rain on Monday, so it's gonna be an interesting week. Snow was cute, yes, Death Angel. Snow was cute. I think we got more snow so far this year than we had. Sorry, not this year. More snow this winter season than we did last winter for the whole season. It's gonna if we're getting this much in December, it's gonna be a long winter. Oh, very chatty chat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, actually, so Greg, what do you have planned for 2026? We discussed how 2025 was, but
Yeah.
what are your game plans for 2026?
Well, I've commissioned a huge map for part of the for the Shadow Sun revisions, and it's from Glenn Seal, and it's going to be for people that are familiar with the Gods of Forbidden North map. He did that. That's in a northern style. This is going to be obviously deserts and salt flats and much different terrain types, but it's going to be basically 8 times that size. There's 8 different 24 by 30 hex maps that are going to go together. Let me pull up there's like a map that I made as like a plan of showing how it would work. And
Are you going to be offering them as poster or 12 by
yeah,
18
yeah,
section?
I am. And I'm going to be developing each one kind of
Hey,
like,
Greg, when you make the section, make sure there's like a quarter inch, at least a quarter inch of overlap.
I understand. Let me share this. Okay, so this is the plan that I have, and so I'm taking right now. I'm coding all of the hexes on a huge master document to send to Glenn. So this would be 8 different segments, and I'm adding extra content where, like at the bottom of 5, there's probably going to be more islands, and at the top of 8, there's going to be more islands. And I'm altering it up. Like if you look at like, the Sea of Salt is really big, and if that's a whole map, I don't want a salt flat terrain that goes across the whole map. So I added like a savanna portion and some other things that break up the salt flat and some things like that. So doing all that's going to take months to get. It's months to get into Glenn's schedule, and then it takes time to be developed. But right now I'm working on the core book stuff that I don't need a map for. And I'm just developing that out. And then I'm going to start rolling these out as they're ready to go. And it's going to be keyed like Terra Invictus is keyed, where each hex is going to have some kind of unique quality to it, and roll it out, and just be able to have a much more highly detailed world to go with Shadow Sun. I mean, I wrote the original 3 years ago. I've increased in skills and ability since then significantly. So I'm leveraging all that back together, and it's going to be most of the year. That's going to be the focus of Chubby Fun. So I've also got some other plans for going back to some other products like that. There's a couple of supplements. I have a magic supplement that was balanced for working with the quick start rules when it was released, and it was released during the Kickstarter still being open, and I need to go back and kind of readjust the power levels of all these spells and stuff to account. I just haven't done it. I've got more on my plate than I have a time to do. So little things like that, I'm trying to dot my I's and cross my T's better. It's very hard when you're working on all sorts of stuff to go back and make minor fixes to things. But that's what I'm going to do. So on my Patreon, I've already got a whole bunch of things up where showing this is how I'm recoding this. I've already recoded or coded in the first place, I guess, maps 1 and 3 on there, and going to be showing so somebody could say, hey, I think you should put this here or whatever, and we talk about it. That's kind of my goal, and I'm going to continue to do YouTube videos. They're good from a marketing perspective, but they're also good for, it's kind of like the advice. If you have something to say to somebody, a better way to do it is to write it down as a letter first, to focus your own mind on what you want to say before you even say anything to them, because that'll help you organize your thoughts better. The YouTube videos help me organize my thoughts enormously. So I put those together. My analysis of Gods of the Forbidden North is still ongoing, and I find it very helpful for me to pick out what these are the things that I think are good. These are the things that I think I'm going to change as I move through all this stuff. All right, let me. What was that comment from Patty? I want to ask her about your video from November about reviewing products. Do you reach out? I don't talk to the creator because I don't want that to influence me. I don't want any kind of personal relationship, personal contact to influence what I think about the product. If I feel like expressing my view in public is going to hurt a friend of mine by my opinion, I just won't express it. You know, I'm not reviewing Black Marsh, but not because I don't want to hurt Rob's feelings. I just have too many things on my plate. You know, like I have to make choices. But yeah, if I had something
I
to
absolve
do, Rob,
you.
I would
I
say
absolve you. You go ahead. You
yeah.
blast the guns at praise or blast. Yeah, I would be interested hearing your thoughts on Black Marsh, and I don't mind if they're public or not.
Well,
I'm a big boy.
I'm friends with Rob Alderman, who did Gods of the Forbidden North, and I was talking to him, and he said, "Well, when are you going to do Gods of the Forbidden North?" And I was like, "Well, I didn't want to say anything that might upset you, or, you know, whatever." And he was like, "I don't care, that's fine." So then I started talking about it. So there's that kind of, you know, I'm courteous to people. I don't want to hurt my friends' feelings and stuff. If they're not my friend, I really care a lot less about your feelings. It's just reality. And in some cases, there are people who I think their influence is actively detrimental to the hobby as a whole. And I say that. I think this is bad. I think that this design, I said that a lot with Curse of Strahd. I think designing things in this way is a bad idea. One of the things when I was going through Curse of Strahd was I talked about how you could kind of see in certain locations what they were telling their freelancers. And like, it's almost as if they were sending out a kind of a buy to a freelancer and said, "We want you, here's a little map of the place. We want you to come up with the stuff that's in the place, and you need to have one NPC that's standing nearby that does this, and you need to have one trap that works like this, and you need to have one," because the same pattern was just repeating over and over again. I'm like, so this is what they did. They sent this stuff out to freelancers, and the freelancers wrote it to spec, and then they sent it back. I don't think that's a good way of doing a setting that is this huge setting that needs to be cohesive and work together very tightly. Some unifying person needs to be weaving this stuff together, because holy crap, a lot of the places in Curse of Strahd are written as if the people living there have no idea the entire rest of the map exists. Like, it's crazy how siloed and protected it is. Yeah, it's bizarre.
Let's see. Resetta Bureau of Toilets. Super chat, $10. New viewer here. Any creators have thought future plans of crossovers with different genres, literary sources, or games? I once ran a game of Deadlands crossed with Dark Heresy and Guns of the South. That's a hell of a combination.
I got a science fiction setting that combines dinosaurs, hive minds, psionics, and set in the far future, or set in basically the 25th century.
All right. I'm gonna give Fugly a shout out. So hold on a second. I'm this bag here. I don't know if you can read what it says in the bag. It says "Do not eat." Because it literally is a bag of penis sauruses. So I was joking, and I have been joking about running the attack of the Penosaurus at North Texas RPG Con this coming June, and I was
Hey, I'm going to
thinking,
interrupt you, Eric.
yeah,
So I'm giving you my pitch. I'm stating my pitch for my science fiction setting for all the world to hear about dinosaurs, and you come out with Penosaurus.
Penosaurus,
Thank
man.
you. Thank
You're
you for
welcome.
that marketing angle.
You're welcome, man, because he literally gave me uh, a bag of dicks, and remember, they said the saying, "Eat a bag of dicks." Well, he had to make sure when I received this that I did not eat it. Okay, but it will. I was thinking like a 1950s horror flick, kind of like The Blob and the other weird, stupid movies from then. But the attack of the Penosaurus and just general teens, young 20-ish individuals having to fight off. So this would be using probably an OSR rule set adjusted to the 1950s and Penosauruses.
So
So,
are those Penosauruses going to have ray attacks or cone attacks?
I haven't decided quite yet, but I
Isn't that a
do love the.
genetic thing, though, Greg?
Or is it
Not to
going to
get
be a
into
cloud attack? Is it like
I know it might be a
particulate?
it
I
might
think
be
a
a
heart
thump.
attack. I think that there's some plumbing issues.
Yeah, but we shall see. I have a little time to design it. Yeah, breath weapon.
Are you going to be running this in convention?
I want to run this at North Texas.
Oh, awesome! I'll sign up to play in that.
Yeah, yeah, no, I want to send everybody home with their own penisaurus as a parting prize.
So, to get rid of them. I got you. I see.
Yeah, can you imagine going through TSA security? They pull your bag and they pull out a bag of penisauruses.
Yep.
That's gonna look. That's what's the armor
How
class? I
many
don't.
attacks per round are these Penosauruses going to get?
I got time to work that out. Okay, I got time to work that out. We're gonna.
I mean,
It's gonna
call
have to be. It's
God.
gonna have to be classy, right? It's gonna be a slam attack, acid sprays. Considering the colorations,
That's
maybe
it.
color spray. Theatis, you're a genius, man.
Yeah, Flint had a good point. You can, if you don't want to publish this yourself, Eric, you can always have Jim Raggy. This is up his alley.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah,
Don't forget
James.
about constriction attacks. Also.
What world are you from, Greg? Go back. Just go back.
Fugly's like, I can print you more.
He's gonna start sending them to you every year to make you try to make these modules.
I want the Attack of the Penosaurus, Volume 2.
Hey, Flugie, use
It's
that
Flooge.
whatever that technology that they use to make the flexible ones. You know,
The
they can
peanut
do,
gallery
they,
erupts with Penosaurus.
they can 3D print flexible
Oh,
toys.
Flint, it would definitely be a one shot, but Kerry says use Lamentations as a rule set. Tempting.
Yep.
I wanted to thank Fugly for his horrible influence on my horrible influence. Cheers, Fugs.
I will say to Shellback Bow, I really enjoy running Gods of the Forbidden North because I didn't write it. Right. So a big part of when you make your own stuff is that like everything that I make, by the time it gets published, I'm almost sick of it. Right. I've been looking at it every day. Yeah. Just agonizing over how this will work versus how that'll work and go through all this stuff. I don't want to relax by running that stuff again. It's a nice breath of fresh air to run something else. I really enjoy running Alien because it's a huge break from what I normally run, which is medieval fantasy stuff.
Yeah, it was fun.
And it provides it's like a palate cleanser. Just really cleans off your okay, now I go back and do more medieval fantasy stuff.
Blue wants me to do it. I could be a charity game. Yeah, we could sell seats to it, not just on the regular scale. It might have to be maybe after the whiskey tasting. I'll run the Attack of the
Well,
Peanut
you can
Tours.
pick it. You weren't down there that night where we ran Nuclear War, right? But
No.
me and a bunch of guys, Gary Lewis, who just showed up in the chat, was there. And his two guys that are on second watch with him, Lord Mattias and Brian, DM Cloaker is his call sign. We were all us, the Black Lodge guys were there. There was all this stuff, and we're playing this game of Nuclear War, and everybody was doing the accent of the country that they were
Oh,
from,
that's awesome.
right? And so Matt from Black Lodge Games, he went like second, so he started going into an Irish accent, and then by the time it got around to his partner Nick declared that he was the true Northern Irish and they were the Southern Irish, and then they started shooting nukes at each other for that. Like it was a wild thing, but it was in the middle of that open space at North Texas, so there all sorts of people were around and able to see it. That's what you should do. You should play it. You should play it with an audience.
There you go, Eric.
God help us. We may have to.
And if you just get a few big salamis, you can do kind of like a slam attack on the table or something.
Got a lot of options with salamis. So, should I give him an update on my Kickstarter?
Sure.
So, like if you guys are just tuning in, I'm working through the index, which is a bigger job, which is a pretty big job with this project. But on the other hand, too, I have 4 letter-sized pages that I plan to leave open in the book for town and village maps. I pick 4 location, and if you could share the screen, I have all but one of them done. So I think you guys would appreciate taking a look.
Oh, come on. Stay up there. Darn it.
So this is Castle Belden, home of Baron Belden, who is an evil guy who keeps slaves. These are slave barracks, slave huts, and he's a worshiper of a blood goddess who fled from the Grand Kingdom and is now trying to build up his power base in the wilderness in order to bring down the Grand Kingdom. This is Castle Westguard, which is the Baron Belden's first target and potentially a main base that you guys can use for campaigns set in the Southland regions of the Northern Marches. And this is the largest city in the Northern Marches, Northport. So all of these will be in the book and available on the poster maps when the project is released.
Okay.
The last map I'm not showing and you're still drawing up is the Ruislip town of Sudsdale, the Merchant Republic in the Wild North, and it is my take on a fantasy version of Russia and Eastern Europe, much like default D&D with Gygax takes on Western Europe. So hopefully I'll be ready to submit stuff for proofs in about a week or two, and the backers will have their final PDF, their candidate released then for the PDF, and then I'll be able to finalize things in about a month when the proof returns.
Awesome.
Nice.
And thank you, Patty, in the chat. I just looked at it. Looks good. Patty's been working on they're like ancestry choices for the Islamic fantasy setting that I was working on. Or I'm still working on, just on a lower burner. And it's very hard to get non-Western European dress and armor and stuff in terms of stock art and everything like that. So that was one of the first things I started commissioning was people that look like they're from the Caucasus or Persia or Arabian or whatever, Caspian Sea basin, stuff like that. It's just there's just not a lot of stuff out there. And Patty's stuff has been great.
Awesome. You know, I mean, listen, everybody that's on this screen here, we all try to support the artists in the community. I mean, James Shields did a great cover for Continual Light, which has never been used, but I paid him a significant amount of money for it, and it's a beautiful cover. I will find a purpose for it. I don't think that Continual Light's going to get a revised edition like I had intended, but that's
What is the
okay.
subject matter
What?
of the painting?
Oh, it's the paladin and the cleric fighting off a horde of undead with the light spell right above it. I mean, like it's really well done. James did the original cover for Swords and Wizardry Continual Light. Excuse me. And that was actually stock art, which I used as a cover because I didn't have much in my pocket, and my niece loved it. So when it was
Well, you
time,
can do a lot with stock art.
Yeah.
This is Curse Scroll number 2 from Kelsey. This is a stock art piece you can buy on drive-through right now. It covers the full, like it's a full back of the camel. It goes all the way down to the ground, all this stuff. But she enlarged it to be like this, right? So if you just use creativity, you can get a long way with this stuff.
Also, artist Patreons like The Forge, Rick Hershey's, they are often far less expensive than commissioning art or even buying stock art, and you get a good deal for them, and you get art to use in your project. Although I will say that I had out of the Kickstarter, I spent 10 grand on art.
It's very expensive to get it commissioned. Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, here, let me.
The two artists I hired were Rick Hershey and Richard Leschek of Harn fame.
Rick Hershey does some really good work. Let's see if
Yeah.
So this is the piece that and that was going to be I mean, it's awesome. And when I spoke with James about this, I said, "Listen, I need light as a centerpiece of it because it's continual light, and it needs to play off to some extent off your original cover." And he did this, and I was stunned. So, and art like this, by the way, folks, you're going to pay for it, but I think that what I wound up paying for this was still an amazing price. So it was $500 for the use of it, $500 for the original art, and $500 for all rights. And I think that it's a bargain. It is a bargain. This piece is beautiful. I just got to now have the right material to go along with this cover. I'll get there, but it won't be Continual Light Second Edition or Blades and Arcana or Blades and Sorcery. I liked Blades and Sorcery. I thought BS was a great title, but there's other stuff that's kind of like on the in the fire. So we shall see. 2026 is going to be an interesting year, I gotta say. So,
The OSR keeps
never had better
growing.
rules for doing what we can do than we have now.
right.
Yeah. The OSR is going to keep growing. There are literally hundreds of publishers, and there are dozens who are not making chump change at it either.
Right.
Well, we aren't 100% there yet, but as soon as Wizards of the Coast makes their next move, there will be a very large 5e OSR that will appear magically, poof, and it tons of opportunity there. right? Like, holy shit. So I hope that Wizards continues their strategy of destroying all of their previous work and moving forward with a worse idea.
Yeah,
That's
it's going to be interesting if the sixth edition is. I don't think it's going to be a total break like D&D 4E was, but it's not going to be. If they make it a true edition and it's not like 5E, all the 5E fans are going to go, "We love
exactly.
5E," and we got Creative Commons. Screw you, Wizard.
Yeah, well, you already have Black Flag slash Tales of the Valiant. Which, by the way, if you go to Bundle of Holding, they got the core rules there. So, just saying, if you don't mind PDFs, it's pretty cheap. I have no interest in it because I don't play 5e. But for those that do, that was remember the industry response to WotC saying we're revoking the OGL wasn't to cower and submit. The industry response was we will make our own rules. That is the point where this industry has gotten to. WotC doesn't. They might be the tide that raises all ships, but they don't call the shots anymore. They the OGL fiasco, I think taught them or should have taught them a lot about their position. And if they want to lead, I think that's a good position for them. But if they want to control, I think they're going to screw themselves up pretty deeply.
I don't know how
But
much of I
to lead,
disagree with that proposition. They used to be the tide that all raised all ship, but even if they had another popular release, I don't think that's true at our level because of the way we have to fight for our audience to grow our businesses. We're fighting. The biggest problem that we have is just getting people's attention, and that's a challenge whether it's
But
100,000 D&D players or a million D&D players.
but see, but Rob, there's our level, and then there's the OSR publishers that are a step or two above us, and they all do 5e plus OSR because 5e pays the bills to keep a company paying multiple employees, and the OSR is generally what they love. So I think that 5e is still driving much of the market. And there's a lot of publishers, including Goodman, that relies upon 5e to pay a large part of their bills. And
Right.
that
If you're going to commit, yeah, there's different. I wouldn't say tiers of publisher, but there are different levels. There are
yeah,
different things that matter depending on how your business is structured.
right. I
It's
mean,
like
on
me or
our
Greg.
level, 5e is irrelevant. Greg's not going to be doing Shadow Sun for Shadow Dark and 5e. I
nope.
mean, no. I mean,
I'm
that's
I'm
Okay,
strongly
but the
considering
basic
doing
thing is,
OSD, but not.
and you know, and I think OSC would get you would get a really big return on that. But like 5e, I just I don't think. And then again, it becomes: do you want to step into that that market? I mean, there's a purity to companies, publishers that just do OSR and OSR adjacent, as opposed to having material that because like 5e doesn't really match well to OSR releases. The power creep is
well, I
different
disagree.
scale.
Actually, I disagree, Eric. The big problem with working with 5e, and I know this because I have a 5e version of my Majestic Fantasy
Oh yeah,
RPG. It is
I'm
it,
sorry.
it's a lot of extra work, and the thing is, if I get I, even if I get I would have to build the audience for it, so I won't get the return on the work I do on anything with 5e as I do on the return I work on my sandbox stuff and my Majestic Fantasy RPG stuff. So, it's a lot of extra work for what you gain. It's not that it can't be turned to OSR sensibility because if you don't use feats, if you don't use multi-classing, the result plays like an OD&D campaign. I've run 5e campaigns with my stuff. I've run Majestic Fantasy stuff. Things happen in both campaigns for the same reason. Event play out similar ways. The 5e fights, yeah, they take a little longer. Yeah, they have a little bit more tactical options. But because I don't use multi-classing or feats, I don't
Oh,
run into the problem.
but see now, Rob, I'm going to explain something to you. Maybe you don't.
Oh, okay.
We've had this discussion before. If you're not using feats in 5e, which 2024, by the way, it's no longer like written like the original 2014 5e, which had a lot of OSR influence and optional rules. 2024 is a power game, and nobody who wants to play 2024 is going to say, "Oh, yeah, but I don't want feats," because all these character builds are built upon feats. So you're playing a basic 5e, but you can't compare that to what 99% of the 5e tables are playing.
Yes,
I don't
but
know if
see, that's
any
the thing.
player.
I'm not offering a power game. I'm offering the Rob Conley
I
setting.
understand that, but Rob, you can't compare that to regular 5e. It doesn't match up. It doesn't. So if you're playing 5e by the book, as Tondo and Chris Perkins want you to play the 2024 rules, it's not very OSR ish, and it's the power levels are greatly different.
And I don't disagree, but we're
Okay.
talking about what you can do to sell
Uh,
the
but
5e.
yeah, but that's no to sell it to a. If you're going to sell 5e to an OSR game, are you going to say Shadow Dark?
No,
I mean
no,
that.
that's not what I meant. I meant you sell your OSR stuff on using a 5e rule set.
But
His point, Rob, is that it's a square peg in a round hole. And it's the same thing like when people say like there's this many gamers out there. Like, what's a gamer? Is somebody that plays Candy Crush on their phone the same gamer as the guy who plays Call of Duty 8 hours a day? Like, no. So the niches are so large now that you could make a living day to day doing activity within a very small niche. It's totally possible. Like, and that's where we're moving. I don't need to compete with Wizards of the Coast because
right.
they don't do what I do. And I was
And I
going to say this
agree.
a
And I
second
agree,
ago.
Greg.
Leadership requires you to have ideas about what you think should be, right? So great leaders come along and they say, this is what we should be working on. They're able to make a compelling case for why it's better. They're able to present you with a good alternative, with a good idea, with some kind of value. Great leaders don't come out and go, I revamped this so I can make more money off of you. That's the main innovation of this edition, right? Like they aren't bringing anything to the table that somebody goes, oh man, I got to get in on that. Oh, that looks good.
Well,
That's just
well,
not
well,
happening.
well, Greg, here's the thing. I am not in this business to sell freaking art rule books,
Me
okay?
neither.
I am here to sell my setting. So if it happens to be because my friends refuse to play my majestic fantasy RPG, but they want me to run a campaign with 5e, there was a point where I said, fuck it, guys. If you're going to make shove this 5e shit down my throat, I'm going to run it my own goddamn way. And me being me, yeah, I wrote a 5e version of my Majestic Fantasy. And that's what I've been using anytime I had to use a 5e campaign because I like my friend so that I don't just be an asshole to them. I kind of meet them halfway. So now I got this 5e material. It's not a priority to me, but because I have it at some point when I have the time, only if I have the time, because it's down a very long list of other shit. I'm going to use it to make my Black Martian stuff more appealing to another audience.
Fair enough.
That's
But I
fine.
get
So I have a reason behind my purpose other than just simple greed.
But like
no.
anybody who make something that they like, that they want, and then they're like, well, I'm going to convert this to 5e. I'm going to convert this to something else in order to make extra money. I don't expect that conversion to be utterly fantastic, right? The thing that's fantastic is the thing that's aligned with what they thought was so good that that's why they were inspired to write the setting in the first place. That's what I want to get. Like, I don't want to
And I
get
agree,
somebody's
Greg.
half-assed conversion to something else.
And I agree. And I didn't write a half-assed conversion. And in fact, I'm glad I wrote this conversion because as I went through each of the 5E classes, it made me consider things about my setting that I haven't considered before. Now, I'm not going to backport 5E bullshit, but I always liked the general idea behind warlocks, a group of people who gained supernatural power because they had a powerful supernatural entity that wasn't a god level, but it was powerful, like a dragon or something. And I always liked that idea. And now I have some idea of how to make a majestic fantasy RPG version of that when I get around to that. I considered things about this organization I had called the Treein, which is an alliance of rangers, druids, and priests of the forest god that I didn't consider before. And so I'm glad for the exercise. But
Well, you
so,
would think that the ability to describe what it's like to have to work for a much more powerful entity and do whatever they say, even though you don't really want to do that in order to get power, you'd think Wizards of the Coast would be really good at that. I would think that would be their sweet spot.
That'd be
They
their
should know how
wheelhouse,
to
their
figure it out.
specialty. No, no.
in the words of Steve Rogers, Captain America, I got that reference.
Well, we're about to hit the witching hour. This is our last random party of 2025. We will be back in 2 weeks. There's no weird
Can we
fifth
just switch
Friday.
to a every other week thing or something in 2026, man?
We've been doing
Weird schedule you've got. It's weird. I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know.
every 3 months there's an extra week off. I know.
Is that necessary? I mean,
I don't. I'll have to talk to Glenn. We'll see what we can do.
okay, all right.
All right. Um, I
Well,
don't
Glenn,
know.
if he comes on here,
I don't know what the problem is. It's not every other week. It's the second Friday and the fourth Friday of every month.
I don't understand what's wrong with Thaco. Why do you need a Sendinano class?
Oh my God.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh, folks, I do not know if there is a live stream on Sunday for inappropriate characters we rolled because it's right in the smack of 2 holidays, so I don't know what's going on. I believe that the following Sunday should be a Sunday night special with Joe and Joe. And I believe Don Samora is going to be our guest of the month in January. So that should be
Guest of
interesting.
the month. What is it?
Yes, we're for Sunday night special. We're bringing in
Ah.
a third party for on a monthly basis.
Oh, are you going to have an end of the year podcast blowout
I'm
where
going to get to that. So here's the deal for next Wednesday, New Year's Eve, 8 p.m. Myself, Bad Mike, Jim Kitchen, and everybody you see on our live streams throughout the week are invited to join us between the hours of 8 and 10. You guys will have a link. Uh, Glenn will have a link. Don, everybody who I normally cast with will have a link to join in if they want to. We're going to have a hell of a blowout. It's going to last about 2 hours. Then this old man, 58 years old, is going to do this and take a nap in my chair for an hour because at 11:30, Rach and I are coming back on to celebrate New Year's with everybody. So if you are, we're going to put a link in the post section of this channel. And if you want to join in, it's mostly aimed at our Gamers Health community. But if you want to join in, it's going to be an open link to join in on the restream. We'll invite everybody. It's going to be a hangout. Stay as long or as little as you want. We're going to hang out until just after like 1:15 or so New York time. So we'll catch Central Time's New Year's Eve. And then I'm probably going to pass out for like a day. It's going to be a lot of live streaming in one day, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's next Wednesday. Go figure. So yeah,
Gonna
you might
be
have
a
more
hell of a
Greg. You might have more Rob. Maybe well, Joe might be out at the gym on New Year's Eve because he's always at the gym.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there. Yeah, Raj, join us. If you want to join us on either of those live streams, just let me know. We're gonna have a good time. Thanks to Rob. Thanks to Mr. Chubby Funster. Thanks to everybody who's a member of this channel, the Minions. Your support is awesome. Thanks to everybody who subscribes. Really appreciate it. If you're watching on my channel, go to Chubby's channel. Subscribe to
And
Chubby.
vice versa. Yeah.
Yes, this is how we survive. Community, and we're stronger with all of you than we are without you. Other than that, next live stream is actually tomorrow night. Gamers Health, 8 p.m. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I'm sure it'll be holiday related. All right, folks. Thank you for a very lively chat. We're ending with like 70 people watching the live stream. Holy crap!
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
folks. Good night. God
See ya.
bless. Hope you had a very happy and